Hello my loves, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am Lindsay Tanner, and we recently in the last few months quit our jobs. We're renting out our house furnished to live full-time in an RV. So that is what today's video is all about, is sharing our RV adventure, what happened on our adventure, and why it turned out much different than we expected it to. First, a huge shout out to Steven and his dad. They spent so much time rewiring the RV so it could go off grid and we could get power from the sun to power our home. When we finally got on the road after about a month and a half of Steven working so hard on the RV and us staying with family, I expected myself to feel so high vibe, so excited, and to be honest, Steven felt the same way after we talked about it later. We both kind of had this pit in our stomachs. And you'll see why this was validated very soon. But that night we ended up getting a flat tire, just parked at our campground. The tire went completely flat. Unfortunately, that first day was Arlo's birthday, but we made the best of it. And after a lot of sitting around in the hot RV and a lot of phone calls and a lot of waiting, and then thankfully some very helpful angelic people, we got back on the road and headed towards our next spot. There were some beautiful moments inside the RV, like me reading my book with my fairy lights, listening to the sounds of outside and these beautiful views in Nebraska. We parked by the lake. There were some moments that were exactly what we were hoping for in the RV. Hey, you having a good time? You like your nose sign? We continued on even though our mindset was a little skewed at this point, and also our generator had broken, so we didn't have AC unless we were parked at a campground, so we were really just heading towards cooler weather. Even with our optimism trying to shine through, things continued to break, like the awning, and then the check engine light came on, so we had to spend a whole day at the auto mechanic. Luckily they had a playroom for Arlo, but just that compounded with trying to keep a 1-year-old entertained really was just weighing on us, and we were wondering how sustainable this lifestyle really could be if things were going to continue to break at this rate. And to be honest, we really had to adjust our expectations of full-time RV life with a 1-year-old. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, we've done van life before multiple times and absolutely loved it. And I guess we were just unrealistically optimistic that camping with a 1-year-old would allow us to slow down and to just enjoy the little moments. But instead, we are constantly stressed about something breaking or finding camping spots or making sure he was happy and entertained while also trying to take care of ourselves. And you can see that this really started to compound when we finally got to probably the most beautiful camping destination I've ever been. And we decided, let's stay here for a few days, really slow down, try to take care of ourselves and rest. And if we're not happy here, maybe this just truly isn't the right time to do RV life. I don't think this camping site could have been more perfect. As you can see, we were parked right next to this beautiful stream that we got to swim in each day. It was freezing, but it felt so good, and Arlo loved playing in it, and there were rolling hills, and the weather was just beautiful. So we did our best again to slow down and just enjoy these small moments with each other. in these few days, I feel like my body really started to communicate with me. It had been this whole time, but this was the first time I slowed down and checked in with myself. Since the first day of RV life, I had this strange pain in my sinuses above my eyebrows, almost where your third eye is. And I've had a lot of sinus pain and issues throughout my life, but this almost felt like a migraine and a headache. It was just progressively getting worse every single day. And then these few days in the Tetons, or right outside the Tetons, it got really bad, like some of the worst pain I'd ever felt in my life. So we had to make the really tough decision of, do we continue on and just try our best, or do I need to go see a medical professional? You can see in this clip here, I did a cold plunge, which actually did make me feel so much better. I can see why this is such a popular thing to do right now, because it just makes you feel so alive and gets your blood pumping and really gets you out of your head, which I think was part of my problem here. I was way too in my head, just trying to force myself to enjoy this. RV life was something I've been dreaming about literally for years, and we were finally doing it, and I just wasn't enjoying myself, and I wanted to enjoy it so badly, and that really manifested in this extreme sinus pain. Looking back at this footage, I realize I got exactly what I wanted and needed from this adventure. I got to experience true RV life, all of the highs and all of the lows, drinking these beers, looking at a beautiful sunset, staring at the moon above our RV, which you guys know I love looking at the moon, and just having this incredible experience with my family. But ultimately, we realized that this just wasn't the right season to do this on a long-term basis. And I think that's okay. Like I mentioned on Instagram, some chapters are much shorter than you thought they would be. But just because they're shorter doesn't make them any less important or any less significant. And I've always had the mentality of, I need to try something rather than regretting it down the line. As much as you probably could have told us that this would have been really hard with a 1-year-old, I don't think you could have convinced us otherwise. We had to experience this for ourselves, and we truly have no regrets, and we're so glad that we did. Even though we're not traveling as long term in our RV, I'm very happy we did it, and it's all flowing just beautifully into whatever the next steps are for us. I have no idea what the path is going to lead us down next, whether that is going back and joining society, like we felt like we dropped out of society for a little bit, or maybe it's something else we haven't even thought of yet. But I'm just so grateful that we did take a chance and that we tried it, and we realized that it wasn't for us, and we had the bravery to stop when it didn't feel aligning. Because you can try to force something as long as you want to, but eventually either your body or your mind or your spirit is going to catch up with you, and it's just not sustainable to force things in your life. So I hope, if nothing else, this video inspires you to still go and try the things that you're wanting to do, even if you perceivably fail at them, or they don't last as long as you thought they would, or they're nothing like you thought it would be. At least go and try. Always better to be a whoops than a what if, I say in my book. So we eventually decided to leave our spot. Thankfully, we were able to stop in Denver with my cousins, thank goodness, because my eye swelled up. My sinus infection was so bad. But we slowly made our way back towards St. Louis. You can see some pictures along the way. Arlo was a happy camper literally the whole time. He was the happiest one out of all of us. I'm so grateful. It was a good experience for him. But we came home, and for that first week, we told ourselves, we're going to keep continuing what we tried to achieve in RV life and just slow down. not rush into the next step, not rush into buying a house and finding jobs or whatever it is we do next. But we slowed down and we made a promise to ourselves that even though we're not living full-time in an RV anymore, we can still incorporate the aspects of RV life into our day-to-day life, whatever that looks like now. That includes slowing down, like I mentioned, enjoying the little things, living minimally, having experiences over things, and just really conserving your resources, which is something you obviously have to do in an RV. And honestly, it's felt so good and so aligning to be back in the St. Louis area with our family, being close to family. And I think if nothing else, it just really helped us realize that this is what we want in this season of life. I think we will get back to camping eventually and maybe do RV life in the future. We're not done with it forever, but we now know it's not right in this season. So like I mentioned before, I hope if nothing else, this inspires you to go at least try the thing that you're wanting to do. And even if it doesn't work out, that's okay. You now know that that's something that you don't want to do in this season of life. Thank you so much for joining me in this RV adventure. I still have more yoga flows and meditations and other aligning topics to share with you here on this channel and on my podcast, Alignment Adventures. I do have an episode coming out with Steven where he's going to come on and we're going to share all the lessons we learned along the way in this RV journey and kind of recap some of the things I talked about on here. So if that feels aligning, please check it out. But I'm sending you all so much love, all the highest vibes, and I will see you in the next video.